Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday. Right, so I believe I've had discussions about this with a few other um, Mackie users as well, particularly the DL series, and a few people agree that there's definitely some sort of an issue here in this area. But I believe that the issues that we experience with connectivity. So whether you're connecting to your DL32 or your 16S or your 32R, whichever one you have, I think 1608, you'll tend to find that there are individuals, uh, each and every one of us, sorry, has experienced an issue with the connection between your device, whether it's a laptop or a tablet or a phone, disconnecting and being unable to reconnect to the device. And this is regardless to whether you use um, the internal router or you have some sort of an external router, whether you're on the 2.4 gigahertz or the 5 gigahertz. Some solutions will alleviate the problem, or appear to alleviate the problem. I'm not entirely certain myself about whether or not the frequency uh, of having this issue differs any more or any less. Not because I'm being hard headed. I've just not I haven't taken the time out to do the research. From what I understand, switching to an external router, if I've gathered correctly, from those who have, certainly appears to give you less of this problem. So you don't have the problem as much than when you use the internal router. But from what I understand, even if you're on an external router, you'll find that if you disconnect from the device, and usually you can see that that's happened when you come in here. That will be flickering between yellow and red, and obviously there'll be a big red disconnected in this corner. And you'll be able to see obviously your mixer down here under detected devices, but you will have a tablet or nowadays we can connect from our laptops. I'm currently connected via laptop, or it could be Windows or Mac. We can connect from obviously phones, tablets, but you'll find that at some point you will come across this issue of connecting and then you just can't connect, or it's your initial connection and you just can't get connected no matter what you do. And even if you switch off the device and you switch off, the Wi-Fi, your router, whatever, you put it back on. Sometimes many people will find that even that doesn't fix the problem. Some people have gone as far as doing a reboot, reset, a hard reset, to just sort the problem out. But if you're on a live event and it's a paid corporate event or something like that, doing a hard reset is not really what you want to be doing halfway through a show or halfway through a concert. It's very embarrassing, particularly if you've been sort of paid to come in and handle an event, which is why you'll find that a lot of people may shy away from Mackie. Now, I'm actually part of, I believe, except for one, I am part of every Mackie digital mixer DL series group on Facebook, except for one. Um, and I've seen this problem time and time again, time and time again. So I do know that this is an issue that affects everyone, but I believe I've found the problem or where the problem is, just based on my interaction, my questioning, and I think I have also found a solution. The solution certainly worked for myself. I have shared it with a few people. I've received bits of feedback here and there, but not enough for me to know that it'll definitely work for everybody else. Okay, so I'll share this solution with you. Take it away, try it, and do come back and let me know, because it will at least allow us to know what the issue is, whether specifically what the issue is. And then when we provide feedback to Mackie, we're not all going back with 1,000 different responses. We're actually narrowing it down so Mackie can fix the problem if they don't already know that there is a problem and what that problem is. So I'll go through the solution later on in this video. But to start with, I just wanted to point out a few things. The first thing I want to point out is I don't believe that the issue with the disconnections that we experience, that problem, and everybody's had it, so I'm not going to go into great detail about what it is. But I don't believe that the issue where we disconnect and we can't reconnect, or you're trying to connect for the first time and you can't connect, I don't think that issue has anything to do with Wi-Fi connection. I think that's barking up the wrong tree, and I'll explain why. In order for you to connect your tablet in general to this particular type of digital mixer, or any digital mixer that you can connect via a Wi-Fi connection, there are two types of connections you need to make. Now, the first connection you need to make is an actual, what I call an outside connection, which is a physical connection between your device. So in this case, it's my laptop. You could be doing it through a tablet or your phone, or you could have multiple connections. But you have to connect that specific device to the actual Wi-Fi through the Wi-Fi on the device. So as you can see here, I've got my Wi-Fi on and I'm connected. Now, good thing about an Apple is if you're connected via Wi-Fi, it will always tell you up here. And if there's a problem in the connection, or if the bars drop, you'll see that there. Or if it disconnects altogether, or if it's trying to reconnect, you'll see it there, because this thing will be flickering up and down, showing that it's actually making an attempt to connect. That's the good thing about this particular device, whereas with others, with tablets, you don't always see the Wi-Fi connection. But you'll always find when you have the issue that you've disconnected for some reason, or you're trying to connect for the very first time, this connection up here remains constant. It never disappears. Now, I've had this laptop, this MacBook Pro, since it was first released. This is the 2012 MacBook Pro, and I've had it since 2013, and I've connected to many different Wi-Fi networks. Not once will I ever tell you I've reported an issue with my device disconnecting off a Wi-Fi network randomly. And even when I'm connected to the DL32S, if you've had the issue, that's fine. Correct me if I'm wrong. But from your phone or from your tablet, your iPad or your Android device, I happen to have an Android tablet. I also have a Windows laptop with Windows 10. I've got my MacBook Pro with Windows 10, and I've got a phone which is an Android phone. So I'm running across multiple devices when I connect to my DL32S, which is why I believe I have a little bit more of an insight, whereas other people probably just have Mac or an Apple, and others may just have Android. I've got everything, and I can connect everything at any given time, but I'll find this one device that's giving me problems. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I've connected with my phone, with my tablets, to other Wi-Fi networks, and in owning them, I've had my phone for 4 years now. Coming up to 4 years, I've not had an issue with the Wi-Fi dropping out. So I know the problem has nothing to do with my device failing to hold a Wi-Fi connection. And obviously on this MacBook Pro, I can always see that the Wi-Fi connection is there, despite the fact that I'll be experiencing that Mackie issue where it's disconnected. So let me just quickly check that this is definitely recording. It is, yeah, it's fine. So I don't think that the issue has anything to do with the actual Wi-Fi connection. Now, I've called this the outside connection, this connection here, okay? I've called it the outside connection. And the reason why I want to make that distinction is I'm about to tell you about the second connection. When you're connecting your device, you first make that initial connection from your device to the Mackie through the Wi-Fi. And that remains constant, regardless to whether you're having the problems. I've never had a situation where that's dropped out. Once you've done that, you have to make a secondary connection. And the secondary connection is here. Now, within this is where people start to have issues, where they've been able to spot the Mackie, okay? They've been able to spot it here, and they've been able to connect to it. Type in the password, everything is showing up as if it's perfect. There are no issues whatsoever with connecting to the Mackie from what I call the outside connection. However, you then come into the application, okay? You come into your devices, and sometimes you will find that there are no detected mixes. So the reason why my theory is that the issue is actually the application itself is because we're all using across the world. I mean, one of the Mackie groups I'm on is a Philippines group where they actually post in their language. Thankfully, with Google Chrome or maybe Facebook have this, you can always translate so you can get an idea of what's being said. And likewise, if I want to post something on there, sometimes I'll just go on Google Translate, type it out in English, and I know it may not syntactically always make sense when they read it on their end. That's fine. But I'll type it out in in their language, translate it, and then post my post on that group. And you get responses, you communicate. It's fine. We're all from different parts of the world, but we will always find a way to be able to communicate with each other. And I think doing sound or being a sound technician, it's a universal language. So, even though these guys are based out in the Philippines, I still see them as brothers. We can still communicate. But anyway, they will have, their external routers, and they'll have the devices they've bought. The guys over in the States, in the United Kingdom, in various parts of the world that buy and utilize this particular device, the DL series mixers, all have different types of routers that they use. And the issue cannot be the routers, because everybody's using a different type of router, but is still experiencing the problem. So the issue can't be the Wi-Fi connection, the outside connection that I first referred to. And I don't believe the issue is going to be the actual routers themselves, because there's a varying degree of routers. And as I said, some people are on the 2.4 gigahertz, others are on the 5 gigahertz, and they still have the issue with varying results. So I'm going to rule out the Wi-Fi, external Wi-Fi routers being the problem, or any of the cabling or the connections that people use. I'm going to rule all of that out. Okay. This secondary connection that you have to make, as I said earlier on, you get to this page, sometimes you won't even be able to detect the mixer. And that's problematic for me, because in my outside connection, I was able to detect the mixer. Why am I not able to detect it inside the Mackie app, the master fader? So this is where I say the issue has to be something to do with the actual application. And this is not to slam or to knock Mackie, but if Mackie are trying to find a solution to the problem, it would be helpful to them if the information they get from us is consistent. A lot of the times we'll go on there and we'll rant, myself included. I've done this before in the past. But we don't give them anything consistent for them to be able to start to think about the best way to troubleshoot the problem, which is why I'm doing this video. Because if you agree, or if you think, okay, you know what, yeah, everything that's being said here, based on information I've gathered from these groups of Facebook, is consistent with what you're experiencing, then at least you can change your message to Mackie when you're communicating with them, and then you can give them something that's actually worthwhile. And hopefully they can identify and fix the problem for all of us. And then we're all better off. Mackie's better off because they now have a stable platform. We're better off because we can now trust our devices on more sort of riskier events. I've got other digital mixes and there are others I will use for my events, and I won't even dare take my Mackie device, my DL32S, because I just don't want that embarrassment on that particular event. And it's a shame, really, because I really love the layout of Master Fader. I love how it works. So this is an issue that will benefit many people. And as I said, I've recommended this device, and there's quite a few other places that have bought this device based on what I've said. But they'll always come back to me with that same problem at some point to say, I can't connect at all. I've had calls where I've had to get up at 7 in the morning and drive to another city where someone else has bought the same device based on, me sort of selling it to them. And I'm not an affiliate of Mackie's or of anyone, so I don't get anything for this, except for the embarrassment, of course. But yeah, I think fixing this problem will be great for everybody. It'll be great for Mackie. It'll be great for us. So I rule out the external connection, the actual devices that are being used to connect. I deem them to be safe because they're trustworthy enough to be connected to other Wi-Fi devices with no issues at all. Wi-Fi connection, sorry. So say we get to past this stage where the mixer does get detected, and it's detected here. Where we then face an issue is once it's detected here, when you click on it to say you want to connect to this specific device, the thing that allows me to know that, it's definitely made its initial connection. So I'll get something popping up in the middle of the screen saying to me, okay, we've noticed there's a difference between what you have on your the session you have on your laptop or on your on your master fader, and the session that was last running on the Mackie. Which one would you like to load? If I see that screen, then I know I'm home and dry. If I don't see that screen, I know straight away before anything happens. At some point, I'm going to get that disconnected. Message over here, and over here it's going to start going yellow, and then red, and then yellow, then green. Oh yeah, green. Oh no, yellow, red, yellow, red, and I know I'm stuck in a cycle on that specific device. So this is why I say the issue is in the actual application itself, the master fader application. I think that's where the problem lies, because it's the only thing that is consistent across all countries, across all external routers, across all internal routers. It can't be a defective device, because I'll have a secondary device, say my tablet or my Windows laptop or something else, my phone, that is still connected and working, both through its external connection, this one that I spoke about here, what I'm referring to as external, and it's also connected through the internal one, meaning here, Mackie's telling me that it's detected the mixer and it's connected. So, and sometimes the devices will interchange. So it might be I'm doing an event on one day and the laptop is fine, the tablet is fine, the phone is the one that's having the issue. And then on another day, it's a different event, a practice or whatever it is, it's the phone and the tablet are fine, it's the Mac. And then on another event, vice versa, depending on, what it is, it's the other device. So the issue can't be the devices. It just can't be the case. It can't be the Windows laptop because the Mac's connected. It can't be the Mac because the Windows is connected. And you can connect up to 20 devices. So me having 4 connected is fine, Or the guys doing their own mixes are connected, the musicians, sorry, whereas I'm struggling to get a connection with my tablet. So I know the issue can't be the devices because they interchange. The issue has got to be the one consistent thing that is the same with every single person that is currently connected to a device, and the issue has to be something to do with the actual application itself, because that's the only consistent thing between all of us when we're having this issue. Everyone's experienced it. So that's what I believe. Now, obviously if Mackie do get to see this video, as I said, this is sort of to see if I can get enough traction and get enough consistent information across to you guys so that you guys can sort of start to see any patterns. I'm pretty sure this has been raised with you so many times. So hopefully you'll start to see some consistent patterns and not a sort of flurry of confused information coming from your users. And we can get some traction in resolving this problem. Because at the end of the day, it would be a good thing for Mackie if you were making devices that are trustworthy enough, but that have a great platform. I'm not a real big fan of using Allen and Heath, because for what I presume I need to do, having come from analog going to digital, with analog everything is laid out in front of you. If I want to change the gain setting on monitor 2, I just reach over and change it. But when you move digital, you have the issue that you sometimes have to flick between screens. Now Master Fader has made it very easy. It's given you a very easy workflow. Whereas when you're working with, for example, Allen and Heath applications, something as simple as turning on the 48-volt power, phantom power, if you're a first-time user, will give you a headache until you find a forum or a website or something that actually says, no, hold on to the actual button where it says 48-volt in order for you to turn it on. But you'll be there for a long time. And I know this because this is something that consistently pops up with regards to turning on the 48-volt power. But there are various things that within, say, and I know I keep using Allen and Heath. They're a great company. But the reason why I'm mentioning them is not to knock them, but is to actually say, when I go out and do an actual event, that is actually important enough that I don't want to experience these issues, it's the Allen and Heath I'm taking there, not the Mackie, because I know that I'm going to be have consistent results with that Allen and Heath, and I'm not going to have problems that I don't want to have. I'm not going to embarrass myself because of something as simple as a connectivity issue. Um, but the desire, my desire, is to actually take the Mackie or to interchange the two devices. You know, sometimes I'll go with the Mackie because I can trust it, and sometimes I'll go with the Allen and Heath. But sometimes it just takes a few steps within Allen and Heath to get something done, whereas the flow or the form factor is more agreeable with the way I understand, for Master Fader at least, it's more agreeable with me. So there are certain events where I'm sat there and I'm thinking, you know, I wish I had brought the DL32S. I wish I had brought the DL32R. I wish I had brought my Mackie device. This would have been a lot more easier to troubleshoot. This would have been a lot more easier to fix. This would have been a lot more easier to manage. You get certain problems that are so tricky to manage throughout the event where, you know, I have to constantly keep checking this. But on other devices, the flow of work, the workflow is a lot more difficult. So that's my kind of reasoning behind this. But otherwise, both companies are, you know, great companies. Their devices, their products are great, and they're sort of pioneering in the field of digital mixing. Obviously, I believe Mackie have the upper hand significantly when it comes to the application that they use, whereas Allen and Heath, when it comes to the hardware reliability, consistency, you know, they're doing far much better in that area. You know, they're a brand that you can trust. So yeah, and don't get me wrong, I use the D-Life's desk for Allen and Heath. So, you know, I'm not talking about their low end stuff here. Like, I think it's called the SQ. I think the similar version that Allen and Heath do for this Mackie 32S is the SQ series, I think it's called. I think it's called the SQ series. I'm not talking about that. You know, I'm talking about something that's a little bit different, something a little bit high end. But anyway, that aside, I'm gonna set that aside. The issue I'm trying to sort of point out here is this. I think the issue is the application. Now, earlier on I spoke about how within this video I was going to tell you some solution that I found what has worked for me, and I can say it's worked for me 97% of the time, and I'll share that with you. This is what I would like you to give me consistent feedback about, to see if this actually works. Now, what I tend to do now when I connect to my Mackie device, and this is where I get 97% connection. The other times where I've done this, it's worked even though I haven't actually completed these steps, and that's the 3%. So the first thing I do is I turn off everything. Every mobile network gets turned to airplane mode. I switch them off. I switch on airplane mode, and every other Wi-Fi connection is switched off. At least particularly ones that are in close proximity of the DL32S. Then I switch on the DL32, and my tablets, my devices, I connect, and I will find that 97% of the time I've connected successfully with no issues. There are 2 or 3 occasions where I have left my, my phone network on, or I've got a hotspot running, and on those occasions where I've forgotten to turn it off, I've consistently had issues with making an initial connection, or the connection dropping shortly after I've connected and giving me that problem that we discussed earlier on. And then I've gone and taken the steps that I'm supposed to by switching them all off and trying to connect that way, and it's worked every single time. Then I turn on my mobile data network, and I can turn my hotspot on, and then I can connect, and I won't have any further issues. So that's a solution that I found. I think and I believe that something as simple as a not Bluetooth, but a mobile data network or a cell phone data network running in the background, or a hotspot running in the background, can affect your connection between your device and your Mackie and your desired connected device, like your laptop or your tablet. And I did read a post not too long ago where a group of guys were doing they'd taken their Mackie to a conference event, and they halfway through they realized they'd lost connection. The event is going on. The speakers are about to change over, but they had no connection to the actual device itself. And they just put their hands up. They went up to the front and they just made an announcement, and they asked. Thankfully, it was a group of sort of elderly people that were there. And when I say elder, I mean the older generation, not like a young person's concert. But they asked everybody to turn off their phones, or go into airplane mode, and people did oblige, and they said instantly they got a connection. If you go through the threads, I'm sure some of you on some of the groups, this would have been on a Facebook group, would have read this story as well. But yeah, so this is where I initially got the idea, and I tested that for myself. And as I said, for coming up to a year now, I've used this method. I've always been able to connect successfully, except for the instances where I haven't, and I've found that I've had problems. So I found that to work, but I don't have enough data to support it because I'm the only one who's really done it. And the people who I've told have thanked me for me telling them that. They've gone away and they've tried it, but they rarely ever come back to say, oh yeah, by the way, that worked. I did ask a few of them, did it work? Have you been able to connect? And I'll get a response saying, yes, I've connected, thank you. But they've not specifically said, oh, the reason why it's now worked was because I tried what you said, and it worked, or I'm going to continue to do that. They also, the ones who have come back and said, yes, I've tried it, they haven't sort of come back later on down the line to say, actually, what you told me to do is also working 97% of the time for me. So I don't know for certain if it'll always work for everybody else, but give it a try, check it out, and let me know whether that solution actually works for you. And also mention what sort of device you're on, so that we can sort of gather information. But my theory in this all is that the issue is the application. It's not the outside connection. And one thing too, before I finish this video off, one important thing to note is every single time you go through this problem and it's telling you that, it's disconnected here, or, it will no longer detect the device down there, and you've got the yellow and the red, and it's trying to reconnect. Every single time you have the issue, have you always noticed that it's only within the app where it's giving you the information about the disconnection? It's never on your external connection. And if you look at your external connection, if you look at your external connection, it's always fine. It's not showing any attempt to reconnect. It's always showing full bars, strong connection, not an issue at all. It's there's no dropout on your tablets or on any of the other devices. It's not showing a degraded connection. You're not experiencing any issues like lag or anything along those lines. The other devices are working as if nothing else is going on. The only issues that's occurring is within, this specific device that you're having problems with. But the issue, you're always alerted about it within the actual application itself, and not through your external connection. So this is another thing that leads me to believe that it's got to be a malfunction within the application. But I still hold on to that. I may be wrong. If you work in IT and you know something that I don't, I also work in IT, but applications are not my specialty, I'm afraid. But if you do work in IT and you have some theories around what I'm saying, or you want to correct me about some of this stuff, by all means, fire that information across, because it's going to help the whole community. This is not just about me, not just about Mackie. It's about bringing a solution to everybody who uses this particular device. But yeah, all right. I'm going to end the video there. Hit us with your feedback, and let's see if we can sort of make that difference. All right, peace.